Okay. Praise the Lord, it is 10 o'clock. We can end all this foolishness going on up here. I don't know what's wrong with these people up here today. Especially that one down there. I want to call to order the regular session of the Houston County Commission for September 13th, 2021. We do have a quorum as all commissioners are in attendance today. I want to welcome everyone. Got a good crowd today. Many of you are participating in our meeting today. Always glad to have all of you here, and I know some of you are part of our meeting. Our invocation today will be led by Reverend Mark Kosis. You're right there. Okay, if you'll just stand at the podium there. Pastor at Trinity Lutheran Church. Glad you could join us and get our meeting started in the proper manner. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Harvey. If you will all stand, please.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for providing us with a place and a community to live in. We thank you for choosing our representatives here before us this morning to govern on our behalf. We ask that you would fill them with wisdom and discernment as they make decisions on behalf of our county. We ask for your protection upon our residents here, both from COVID and from all kinds of evil. Lord, we ask that you would just watch over us and help us to prosper. Lead and guide our decisions today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate you taking the time to be here and get our meeting started properly. And welcome to join us anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, you all received copies of the minutes from the preceding meeting. If there are no corrections, we have a motion by Commissioner Harvey. Second by Commissioner Harris. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, announcements. The only thing I wanted to mention was, and Mr. Harry may want to comment on it. From all accounts, the ceremony Saturday commemorating 9/11 held over at the Civic Center was very good ceremony, very moving. I hate there weren't more people there, but I understand it was a Saturday, and I hope everyone did take time, pause and remember and reflect. I know there were a lot of good remembrances on television and around, and we, as we said on Thursday, we just want everyone to reflect on how that event changed our world. And I didn't mention it Thursday, but Nancy was actually in New York on the street when that happened. So we're glad you are with us today. But you may want to comment on that. No, yeah, I saw you did the steps, and we appreciate you doing that. So any other comments, or any other announcements or comments from the commission regarding anything? All right, then we will move right on into the agenda. The first item on the agenda, Mr. EMA Director Chris Judah has some recognitions he wants to make. If you will come to the podium and call your recognizees. Okay. Yeah, the people you're going to recognize.
Can I do this to address you? Can I do this to address you?
No, you can take that out.
Okay. All right.
Pull the mic toward you a little bit.
Thank you, Chairman, Commission. I know you pride yourself on making these meetings quick, so we have a heavy agenda today. I'll try to be quick myself, but to me, first of all, I love my job. I absolutely do, because it's something new every day, and I get to deal with a lot of people, our residents. I'm out in the community, and it really makes it worthwhile. And I absolutely appreciate y'all allowing me to have this job, because it's fantastic. It really is. But I do want to recognize a few people here. We have a very resilient community, and the people within it are fantastic. And unfortunately, in the county, We don't have all the resources that maybe the city of Dothan does, or the state does, or some of these other things. I don't have a fire department that has 200 people in it, things like that. We have to rely on our volunteers. We have to rely on our citizens and others that help us and make things happen. And I want to talk about that for just a minute, because I've got a few people here that are very special. About 8 weeks ago, we started a community outreach program, and we're going to be out in the community visiting senior centers, schools, and a lot of other places. That's already started. We've had a lot of good feedback from that, delivering weather awareness, COVID awareness, things of that nature. So I look forward to that, and some of these people will be helping with that. But when we get into weather and things like that, we have to rely on some of our fire departments, our sheriff department, people like that that are out in the community. And back on Tuesday, August the 31st, we had some terrible weather that morning down in the south part of the county, as well as in Jackson County. And we had some tornado warnings down in Jackson County that didn't affect us, but we were watching it throughout the day. And later that afternoon, we had some things that just dropped out of the sky. And if it hadn't been for some of these people, we couldn't have helped some of the folks that we did. So I want to recognize them. And I ask that when we do this, that we don't just move on to the next agenda item and forget about it, that we take it into account of what they did, because they're very special people and we'll need them again. So first of all, I'd like to ask Captain Ivy to come up from the Houston County Sheriff's Department. Again, on Tuesday, probably about 4:30 in the afternoon, we had a tornado just drop right out of the sky. We've been watching the weather all day, and we had a series of tornadoes. Actually, we had three F0 tornadoes, 2 in Houston County and 1 in Dale County. And then we had 6 active tornado warnings that day. But we happened to be watching the weather. I happened to be on Highway 605 that day. I was helping a doctor's office to try to start a immunization clinic through the infusion. So we were picking up some equipment, and I looked up in the sky and I was like, holy cow, what is that? And about that same time, Captain Ivy called. And we were on the phone nonstop, talking about different things. And right after that tornado dropped down and hit a house right beside the Brandon Stand preschool, we both dipped in there to check on people. We were jumping fences together. I think we were both soaking wet. And but I just want to recognize the captain for that, because within seconds, not only was he on the phone with me, but he was coordinating everything. It seemed like the entire sheriff's department was in there, was there within a minute or two. Commissioner Herring was there. I appreciate that. The sheriff, I saw him coming down the road and was right on tap. But Captain, I just want to say, from the Dothan Houston County Emergency Management Agency, we'd like to recognize the following with appreciation for outstanding job performance and excellence during a disastrous tornado outbreak on Tuesday, August 31st, 2021 in Houston County. Your dedication and assistance and coordination is duly noted and served greatly in warning and assisting residents and public safety during this event. I want to thank you for that very much. Captain Ivy is also over our communications division in the Houston County Sheriff's Department for our dispatchers. And I happen to know these 3 dispatchers very well. I've known them since I think they all started over there, and they are absolutely fantastic. If you do not know what these people do for a living, I encourage you to stop by our 911 center and see. They go all out, and these are 3 of the best I've ever seen, to be honest with you. How they do it, I don't know. But they too were working that day and did a fantastic job of coordinating fire and rescue, as well as sheriff's department. And all 3 of these say the same thing, but I just want to read one of them. It says, the Dothan Houston County Emergency Management Agency would like to recognize the following with appreciation for outstanding job performance and excellence during the disastrous tornado outbreak on Tuesday, August 31st, 2021 in Houston County, Alabama. Your dedication and assistance in communications is duly noted and serves greatly in warning and assisting residents and public safety during this event. So we've got Hastings Murphy. Got Miss Denise King. Lacey Ray. Thank you. They absolutely do a fantastic job. Fantastic job. So I want to thank them. Thank you. Nick, we could not do this. I got 2 more and I'll be done, but we could not do this without our volunteers, without our fire departments. And from here on out, I'm going to ask over the next several months that you allow me to do this again, because we have quite a few people that we have not recognized in the past, and I would like to do that. But I've got 2 here that I would like to bring to your attention, and I would like to recognize. Hunter Trewick is with Wicksburg Fire and Rescue. He also called me the other day during that tornado outbreak and kept me abreast of what was going on in the Wicksburg area through the entire day. And he does that quite a bit. And I've had the privilege of knowing Hunter for several years. And Hunter, how old are you? 21. He's 21. He's been doing this all his life. I saw him when he was, or I watched him when he was a junior firefighter, just wanting to be out there rolling hose, waiting and worrying to drive the truck and everything else. Now he drives the truck and the ambulance probably 5-6 times a day, right? So I've been at many fires with him and things of that nature. He has grown into a very fine young man and will make a great fire and EMS person in our county. I want to thank him for that. And from the Dothan-Houston County Emergency Management Agency, we'd like to recognize the following for your continued dedication to fire and EMS, assisting in numerous events with both emergency and non-emergency response to your community. Your continued education and professionalism is a credit to your agency, the Wicksburg Fire and Rescue, and in Houston County. James Hunter Trump. This young man I've watched for a long time and have been involved probably since day one that I started, I think, is when we met that night. And Nick Floyd is with the Rehoboth Fire Rescue. And he's not just with the Rehoboth Fire Rescue, he is all over this county with everything that we ever need, everything that happens. He shows up, he works hard. I've gone from seeing him wearing Crocs and flip-flops to turn out here and working major accidents, major fires and everything of that nature. So with that, I'd like to say the Dothan-Houston County Emergency Management Agency would like to recognize the following with appreciation for your continued dedication to EMS and fire and assisting in numerous events with both emergency and non-emergency calls serving your community. Your selfless response and professionalism throughout the county is a credit to your agency, the Rehoboth Fire Rescue, and Houston County, Alabama. He's also the fire chief of Rehoboth Fire and Rescue. So, Dick, thank you very much.
He didn't say it, but would any of you that were just recognized like to make any comments?
I knew the answer to that one.
Sheriff, you want to make a comment?
Three dispatchers, they won't talk.
I do want to recognize Mayor Kimberly Trotter. If you would raise your hand or stand up or whatever you'd like to do, who is the mayor of Rehoboth and doing, I might say, an outstanding job for the town of Rehoboth. Glad to have you with us today. You're welcome anytime. Before we move on, you want to, I didn't see anybody taking pictures. You want to get all of them over there and just stand together and make a picture, Chris, and or somebody, and you'll send it to me. I'll post it on our county Facebook thing. You and the sheriff want to stand with them or something? We'll do it quickly.
Can we do it right in front of the
You can do it wherever you want.
Well, I'll stand up.
I didn't know the way. Take a mask off. Take a mask off and hold your breath.
No, I'm not very photogenic. I want the real heroes up there. Talking about the commission, of course.
I was gonna say that we need to move to it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, somebody send me that.
That took about 5.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Chris, for thank you, Chris, for doing that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Hunger Action Month. Julie Gonzalez, the Assistant Director of the Wiregrass Area Food Bank, is here to accept this proclamation. Commissioner Singfield is going to read it. We need a motion to declare Hunger Action Month in Houston County. Motion by Commissioner Herring and a second by Commissioner Harvey. Go that way. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passed. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
I will say, take the opportunity to say, we are sorry that we have not been able to have our annual softball game the last 2 years, I guess.
I know.
Now, some of us that are old are probably not sorry, but we need to talk about that and see if we can't reinstitute that next year. I know some have talked about doing something other than softball since people get hurt every year, but we'll get together and see if we can't get back to doing something to raise awareness and food and funds. And
We look forward to that, right?
Commissioner Singleton, you want me to? No, do it from up here, and then we'll get up here.
Thank you.
Pull your microphone up. So thank you.
Whereas the Wiregrass Area Food Bank distributed 1,877,576 pounds of food last year through Houston County's 54 participating agencies, and provided 1,466,856 meals for Houston County citizens. And whereas the Wiregrass Area Food Bank serves 599 Houston County senior citizens through the Brown Bag Program of Wiregrass. And whereas during the past 31 years, the food bank distributed more than 80 million pounds of food that would have otherwise gone to waste, helped provide more than 62 million meals, served approximately 200 agencies, and provided support to the Wiregrass during the times of natural disaster. Now, therefore, I, Mark Culver, Houston County Commission Chairman, do hereby proclaim September as Hunger Action Month, and urge the citizens of Houston County to help fight hunger in our community by supporting the Wiregrass Area Food Bank. I have witnessed here, whereof I hereby set my hand and call the seal of Houston County this 13th day of September 2021.
Thank you, Julie, and all of your staff and co-workers and all that you do for our, not just Houston County, but our entire region, and for making us aware of this.
I just want to express our continued gratitude and thanks to the commission for supporting the Wiregrass Area Food Bank, and just remind everyone that this food bank belongs to the community. We can't do what we do without the support of the community. And while these times are very trying as far as having close contact events and things of that nature, we still can have food drives. And we'd like to urge everybody, if you can, within your personal groups, your professional groups, whatever you can do to host food drives, and let us come and pick that food up so that we can continue to feed the people that we feed. We have tried to come up with new and inventive ways to keep doing the job that we do. It's been kind of stressful. We've done a lot more work with a lot fewer volunteers during this time, but we have still been able to accomplish taking care of Houston County citizens. And we just want to thank the whole community for their support in that endeavor.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is proclamation for Family Day, a day to eat dinner with your children. Diane, I want you to come to the podium and not only receive the proclamation, but introduce yourself to the commission as the new director, and your associate as the new director. She's welcome to come up if she would like.
Come on.
As the new director and your new name and et cetera, not your new organization name. And then we will also present the proclamation to you for Family Day, a day to eat dinner with your children. Dana's representative of the 334 Prevention Project, which Dana will tell you about that name. We need a motion to proclaim. Motion by Commissioner Sinkers, second by Commissioner Terry. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Go ahead and read the proclamation, and then you can introduce yourselves.
Whereas children are our future and society's greatest asset, and committed families shape and guide children by preparing them for obstacles and encouraging them to overcome life's demanding challenges. And whereas children spend a significant amount of time with their parents who are low risk of suicide, dropout, teen pregnancy, incarceration, and drug abuse. And whereas children of concerned and active parents are far less likely to exhibit risky and unhealthy behaviors such as smoking, drinking, or using illegal drugs, because the valuable time spent with parents and the positive examples set with their parents. And whereas simple daily activities like sharing a meal, conversation, or a book can have an enormous impact on the life of a child. Strong and engaged families help build a strong Dothan, and a desire and responsibility as concerned family members to help create a solid foundation for the future health and happiness of all of Dothan and Houston County's children. Now therefore, I, Mark Culver, Chairman of the Houston County Commission, hereby proclaim September the 26th, 2021 as Family Day, a day to eat dinner with your children in Houston County, and urge all citizens to join this day's activities and programs in our community. Ask for parents to turn on your cell phone and tell your children to do the same, and make a regular date with your children. Let them know how important they are to you, listen to what they have to say. Also, we ask you to work all year long to build our community coalition to address the use and abuse of drugs and alcohol, increase awareness, and develop educational programs to create effective changes in attitudes and usage that will make our community drug-free.
Thank you. Peter, you will present them, and we appreciate you two taking on this opportunity that you have. I know we have met and there are a lot of other things we have coming down the road, working together to help our community recognize the battle that we have. I want you to turn around and Sean, would you raise your hand? That is Sean, but you need to get to about the building lighting and whatnot that we talked about, yeah. So I know we'll have red ribbon week pretty soon, and you'll be back before us then, and we look forward to that. But introduce yourself to the commission and both of you, and then then you can have comments about the proclamation.
Okay, I'm Dana Bonnie, I'm the new executive director,
And I'm Julie Dobbs. I'm the new community outreach coordinator.
and that's for Ruth Report Prevention Project. So I'd like to thank you all as I began in July and Julie joined me in August. It's been a lot of fun learning about just the history of the partnership. And it was very encouraging to learn that, when our, we hit the ground in the morning, we're thinking prevention. And so while it's very important to go into the schools and impactful and educate the school, the children and the community, we know that half our battle is won if we can reach the parents, where Family Day comes in. So I was encouraged to learn about the support that and the importance that you place on Family Day. And so, like I said, it began with the Partnership to End Addiction in 2001. And so that organization works with organizations such as 334 Prevention all over the country to show us how we can educate parents on the importance of, I call it FaceTime, real FaceTime, at the table where connections can be made. And it's been proven that if children have warm, supportive relationships, the chances of substance abuse goes down, way down. And then, resilience increases, self-confidence, emotional regulation, all the positives increase, but it starts at home. So we do encourage everyone on September the 26th to put their phones down and spend time with the family. And while we are new, we didn't really have a whole lot of time to plan a lot for Family Day, but we're already planning for next year. So we hope that everybody stays tuned and shares, and we can continue the conversation. Do you want to share anything, Julie?
No, I'll wait till next month.
You'll be here for with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate you and good luck. I know you are new. Good luck in your endeavors. Substance abuse partnership now, the 334 project is near and dear to us. We've been ongoing a long time. So thank you very much. All right, we'll move right on into the regular agenda. The first item on the agenda is a request to approve the 2021-2022 budget. Covert will have a presentation. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Singfield, second by Commissioner Harvey. Covert, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate this time to present a summary of the budget that you all had a chance to look at. If you'll give me a slight indulgence of the commission, I've had a brief 192-page presentation that I would like.
You're out of order.
But as you may recall, this has been.
Peter, is your microphone?
I hope so. Am I not speaking clearly?
I've been told that they can't hear you.
All right, that's better. Thank you. As we've talked about in the past, this has been a very unusual year. This community has dealt with many things that were unplanned, many things that were unexpected, and some of the impact of those unexpected, unplanned items are presented in the budget, both in historical terms, that is the revenues that we recognize and the expenses that we incurred. And then going forward into the next fiscal year, they are some similar items that are what I would refer to as one-time events that are both needed and necessary for the county, for its citizens, and for the health, safety, and welfare of our community. This page is just a summary of some of the major items. As you know, our labor and fringe benefits account for over 40% of our operating expenses. This is just a summary of the changes in both labor and the major capital expenditures that have been requested by the entities in our county. The net increase in headcount is 3, but there is some movement around inside some of the departments that will impact the labor or wages and salaries. That although there's a net 0 increase in the sheriff and in Road and Bridge, there are some category shifts. Also in this budget, we have a COLA increase that we discussed earlier. This is 1.5% starting October 1st. This is in addition to the 4.3% the commission approved and was implemented in the beginning of July. The total of which is the CPI-U increase for the southern states year over year to June, which was 5.8%. These are the major capital expenditures that have been approved that are requested in this budget, hopefully approved. These are items working in conjunction with the various department heads of their needs and marrying that with the resources of the county. We were able to add these items to this budget. One thing I wanted to point out that is more of a one-time event is the $2.5 million for various major infrastructure repairs throughout the county. These are about one half of this year's identified critical items by our maintenance department. As you know, the maintenance department here through the work of Sean Curtis keeps a rolling tab on the county buildings and the infrastructure in the organization, absent the Road and Bridge infrastructure of Road and Bridges. And he identifies those things that are due for regular maintenance, that have got deferred maintenance, and those that are requiring critical attention to make sure that they stay as a safe and secure facility for our county. This is our projection for where we're going to end up our current fiscal year. We expect to commit about $40 million in our fund balance. That is above what we had budgeted because of, again, some of the one-time income items. As you may recall, we try to take a conservative approach to our revenue. And in this particular year, we have several items that are, and I'll go into them in a little bit more detail, that are one-time events. But some of them are expense reimbursements. But the way government accounting works is that even though it's an expense reimbursement, it's considered revenue and is reported as such. For this year's budget, we are forecasting a $49 million revenue with a $59.8 million expenditures. We're forecasting a fund balance at the end of fiscal 22 of just under $9.5 million. This is just looking at the general fund. The previous slide was all funds. This is just the general fund, same information, but just on those items that impact the general fund. We're forecasting a ending fund balance of this budget that's being presented today of just over $7 million. This is an indication of the revenue and expenditures that we have that we have in our budget. The revenue is down from actual, but it is up from budget. And the expenditures contain, and I'll get into that detail around page 147, contain some information regarding one-time expenditures in this year's budget that we'll be able to discuss a little bit more in detail. As I said, the revenues are expected to come in at $49 million for our next year's budget. And this kind of gives you a breakdown of the major classifications of revenue. I wanted to point out that for the revenue department, this reflects, although it looks like a 1.5% increase, it's a 1.5% increase over expected actual compared to what was budgeted for last year. Between this year and next year, it's a 3.7% increase. This is the sales and use tax, and as you recall, one of the major new components of this is the SSUT, or the internet sales tax. This, although it shows just over a 0.5% increase over actual, it is actually reflects 11.9% increase over forecast from last year's budget. So although it looks slightly of an increase, last year we had forecasted this number to be $8.9 million, and we're forecasting 22 to come in just over $10 million. The probate department likewise. This shows it's a decrease, but it really isn't. We had a budget last year of $4.5 million. So this is actually a 4% increase over the budget amount for 21. But we just had an unusually high revenue number in 2021. One of the things that is new in the probate department is the shift from the franchise taxes being paid now through the state rather than coming into the probate department. We don't have a lot of history on that and how that's going to flow through the state. So we don't have that budgeted as high as we received this year. But we expect that number will be higher than what we're budgeting. Again, we try to budget conservative so that we can understand our position better. On the expense side, the proposed budget, as you saw, is just over $59.8 million. Again, this is a pretty standard allocation, 43% salary and benefits, 42% department expenditures, 7% for capital and other. The agency's expenditures about 5%, and the debt service is 3%. This is an indication of the labor and expense that we incur. We're forecasting 25.866 for next year. We always budget full complement. We don't always achieve full complement. And that's why the actual, the red line here is less than the orange line. So this year, although we had a budget of $24.5 million, we expected to come in at 23.6. Operations expenses. Now, this is what I was referring to earlier when I said there was a lot of one-time items in the operating expense for next year. Although it looks like a large increase, in there is $3 million that the Road and Bridge Department is expecting to spend on the rebuild Alabama roads in this coming year. There's also the $2.5 million I mentioned earlier for county buildings, critical repairs, and also $650,000 for the renovation work that's expected to be done in the new 5-star building. That was one of the other things I wanted to mention about the 2021 budget. Although we didn't really receive any revenue on that 5-star building when we purchased it, the way the government accounting works is that loan that we incurred, that mortgage loan that we incurred, that $2.2 million, although no cash was received, it is recognized as revenue. So it's sort of it's an accounting entry rather than a cash entry. This is our expected agency allocations for next year. And you gentlemen have in that detailed budget that we were presented, you have a page that indicates all of the individual agencies that make up this balance. This is lease spending. As you can see, our lease spending is going up slightly, but a lot of that has to do with already expected expenditures that we have previously approved in the last year's budget. This is the non-salary operating expenses and the categories in which they're incurred. You can see contract services is just over $7 million, but remember, that is where the rebuild Alabama roadwork money is. This is our current condition, our current position on long-term debt, the bond refinance, as well as the Road and Bridge Rebuild Alabama bond money, and the expected maturity date for those. This is the next year's bond payment cash flow and the next 3 following years expected cash flow. These are the health and dental insurance rates for next year. These are reviewed annually, and there's been an increase as you would expect, and the impact both on the county and the employee is indicated there on the page. This is the complement of the county workforce. Although we had a lot of shifts, like I said, there were only net 3 increases, one for the maintenance department, another appraiser is being brought on, which is reimbursed by the state, as well as a refuge driver, which is an indication of the growing community that this county serves. The annual liability and workers' compensation, that is increasing as costs are going up, and although the safety and security of our workers are being watched over beautifully by our safety manager, it is a constant job. And that's the summary of our slideshow. Any questions I can answer?
Any questions or comments for Peter regarding the proposed budget? I do want to reiterate what he said. The budget appears to be, it is higher than what we have had in the past, but the influx of COVID money that we have received, the significant amount of one-time expenditures and revenue that are primarily related to COVID money, but also Rebuild Alabama and other things, makes the budget look, again, I'm not gonna say larger than it is, because it is what it is, but it will, I believe it will come back down to our normal operating, what we typically have seen next year. So when we were meeting, we all discussed and cautioned everyone that although it appears there's a lot of money, we did not need to get into the position of spending money that was one-time money on long-term items. There's not any doubt there are areas that we need additional staffing, but we can figure out exactly where we're going to level out and how changes both that we are working on and that other entities are working on will affect our staffing. We didn't feel comfortable adding those expenses, knowing that budget that you just looked at is going to be significantly less than it is now this time next year. So frankly, it may be that we can add some staffing in areas that need to at a later time, even in this budget year we're looking at, but did not feel comfortable doing it now with all the uncertainty out there. So didn't want anybody to say, oh, well, you got plenty of money. Well, it's plenty of money one time and it's specified for certain things. So I was glad that, y'all that know me have always said, I believe we need to pay our employees for the work they do before we hire other employees and don't pay any of them for the work they do. I was very glad to see that we were able to complete the total 5.8% COLA that the cost of living actually shows. We did part of it back in June or July. I can't remember which. I think it was in June. We voted on it effective July and then finished the balance of it in this budget. I think our employees deserve that in order to stay in step with the cost of living. And also, frankly, we've talked about it several times, both in the sheriff's department, at Road and Bridge, and probate, in order to keep our ability to hire people. We still continue to struggle with that, and hopefully this will help address that. So overall, I think it addressed some of our needs. So any comments from commission regarding the budget or questions for Peter? Yes, sir, Commissioner Schuman.
Like the chairman said, fairly easy budget to put together, I guess, relative to years past. But I will say this, I know given the current inflationary environment, I don't think we should be surprised if we need to come back and look at another mid-year cost of living increase. I know that I didn't really receive a lot of widespread criticism, but there were some comments last time we did a mid-year cost of living increase. I just want to remind people that the people that work for the county, they're not indentured service. We don't pay them just to be gracious employers. People in a free society, we compete for people on an open labor market. We have to pay people for their work, they'll go somewhere else. So I'm not saying that we need to look at it on a specific day at a specific time, but I would say that's something that we need to keep an eye on.
That's a good point. And And also, I think in our discussions of doing the cost of living, you know, I think every 4 years or so, we try to do a pay study to make sure our pay is in line and competitive. And I think that's, I can't remember if that's coming up next year or the following, but either way, it's coming up pretty soon to look at our, you know, foremen and deputies and clerks and everything else to be sure they're in line with comparable jobs elsewhere, you know, whether it be in Lee County or the city of Dothan or private sector or whatever. So that'll be coming up pretty soon. Other comments? Okay. Any questions from anyone? All right, then all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Thank everyone for their hard work on that budget. Item number 2 is request to appoint Malone Garrett to fill the unexpired term on the Houston County Port Authority. Motion by Commissioner Harry, second by Commissioner Shute. Questions, comments? All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Item number 3, request to appoint Bob Woodall to fill an unexpired term on the Industrial Development Authority of Houston, Henry, and Geneva County. Motion by Commissioner Singfield. Second by Commissioner Shute. Questions or comments or objections? Anybody know the bottom? All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Item number 4, request to approve the Houston County Dothan City Gasoline and Diesel Fuel Joint Bid Agreement. Motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Shute, second by Commissioner Harvey. Questions or comments? Just a reminder, this is the joint purchasing program we have in collaboration with the city of Dothan to buy large quantities of items. Any questions, comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Item 5, request to approve policy number 17A of the Houston County Policy Manual concerning requested work for the Houston County Board of Education. Motion by Commissioner Singfield. Second by Commissioner Harris. Questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Item number 6, request to approve lease for a mobile health unit to Alabama Department of Public Health and authorize chairman to negotiate terms. Motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Shute, second by Commissioner Singfield. Did you find out any information in your call as far as delivery and all that kind of good stuff we discussed Thursday? You were going to be talking.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, I did. I should be receiving today the artist rendering mock-up of what the wording on the unit would look like. Once that's approved by the parties that have the approval authority for that, and if I can get that back to them by the end of this week, the vehicle should be delivered here to Houston County by the end of this month.
Good, okay. I think I did an email that communicated with the director of the health department. We need to schedule a meeting between now and that time to set up the guidelines and whatnot. I think I advised Director Cheeto of that too. Okay, good. Any other questions? Comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, request to award bid for bituminous surface treatment to lowest bidder meeting specs. Motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Harry. Second by Commissioner Harvey. Questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 8, request for 050 retail beer off-premise only license and 070 retail table wine off-premise only license. Super 7 LLC DBA Cottonwood Mark located at 11306 Cottonwood Road, Cottonwood, Alabama. Motion by Commissioner Singfield. Second by Commissioner Shute. Anyone here in opposition to this request? Okay, any questions or comments from the commission? Okay, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Staff reports, Mr. Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, no reports today.
Mr. County Engineer.
One Clove Road, County Road 8, 3 different locations, don't they? They're all on that one.
That's a long road. That's a lot of places for it to be closed.
26 or 7 cross drains in place. I think it was place 3, 4, 5, something like that.
You're gonna make all of our bicyclists unhappy if you keep it long. But it'll be closed a long time. That's when they like to ride their bicycle. Here we go. No. Mr. County Attorney. All right, any questions for the staff? Questions for the staff? Okay, then we stand adjourned. Thank you all.